BlaXit family, BlaXit family, BlaXit family. Hello, I hope you can. Oh, I forgot the microphone. Sorry. Hang on a minute. 1 minute. That should be it. Let's bring it down a bit. I hope you can hear me. Microphones on, mic check, 1 2 1 2. If you could give me a quick mic check, let me know that everything is fine and that you can hear me, everything is clear, everything is okay, and that you can see me also, I would appreciate it. Please let me know if you're here on the live. Our moderator for today is Caffrey. Welcome, Caffrey. Welcome to BlaXit. BlaXit is the channel that is dedicated to your repatriation, relocation back to your nation, completing the circle of our ancestral route back to Africa. Welcome, Willie Rivers. Thank you for joining us today. I am Nyancho Kajabi. I am your host, aka Juliet. I am also the founder of BlaXit. That's right, the original BlaXit. Okay, and I would like to remind you that this is the original BlaXit. BlaXit is not about repatriating to anywhere else except for Africa. That is what BlaXit means. The exits of the blacks. So blacks, it's the exit, BlaXit, yeah, and the exit to Africa. Okay, so thank you for joining, Willie. I'm glad that you can hear me, and I'm absolutely fine. And thank you for joining us. Let me just get my water ready. So that we can launch into today's program. Now, welcome. There have been some questions that were sent to me that I would like to answer straight away. Now, anybody that's wondering, I'm broadcasting here from Gambia. Gambia is my home, my choice of repatriation. This is the land that I decided to come back to, the country in Africa that I decided to repatriate back to. I first came to the Gambia in 2011. I've been to over 30 countries, can't remember them all, but I've traveled a lot. And, you know, Gambia struck me, especially the people, the environment, the peacefulness, the beauty, as being my country of choice in Africa to settle into. So hello, is that in Daniel? Hello, how are you? And I think another person called Crisco Country Life. How are you? Okay, thank you so much for your lovely compliments. And welcome to BlaXit. BlaXit, the actual channel, has been around now for what, 14 years. And has really been, I would say, thoroughly active since Woda Maya's assistance. And so I always want to give a thanks to Woda Maya and team, and of course to all of the people that have been instrumental in helping BlaXit to exist. All of the production teams that have worked with BlaXit since its inception. So I just want to say thank you to all of you, and to let you know that I appreciate your contributions to BlaXit. There are so many to mention, but thank you. I also want to say thank you to all of the repatriates, all of the people that have purchased land and invested in Africa through BlaXit. Thank you all so much as well. It means so much to me, because you've made the dream a reality, and that is so important. So yes, I repatriated. Yes, I built my home. Yes, I live here. Yes, my son goes to school here. And yes, we are living the African dream, and it really is the African dream. And so I'm so happy to be free. It wasn't obviously it wasn't easy to leave England, and some people have asked me some questions, so I've tried to answer them in the best way possible. And also answer any questions that you've sent to me from last week. Now, there's only a few questions that I'm not going to answer until next week. Those are the very personal ones, okay? So I've actually written a piece in order to answer those. because some of them were a bit probing and a bit personal. So I thought I need to write something very, very specific. Hello, S8. Hello, let's see the names. Is that Adrian? I'll just say your first name. I can't see. Hello, Lawrence. Yeah. I think that's Alesso. Just trying to see all names. Not so clear on this screen. But anyway. Okay, so anyway, it's lovely to see you. Thank you for joining us. As usual, BlaXit, is all about your journey back, your repatriation, relocation back to Africa. And why do I think it's so important for you to come? Why? Because of the sense of freedom that you have. And there's many, many other reasons, to be fair, but it's part of our legacy, it's part of our birthright, and we have the right to live in environments where we can feel free of persecution. I think we have the right to feel free of persecution, and we don't have to live in racist environments that discriminate against us on a daily basis with microaggressions and sometimes indirect and direct biases. And also, hitting that all-important glass ceiling where we can do things, but the minute we step out of rank, then, they pull rank. And of course, then our people end up in prison and, all kinds of things. So I think being free and being out of that, obviously you still have to be a law-abiding citizen no matter where you live, according to the laws of the land. But here, what I like is that there is very much a community spirit, and I think that is really, really important. So hello, Ghost in the machine, how can you? And so I don't know what you're talking about. And so Never Forever, how are you? And I think that's Prangle, yeah. And okay, so anyway, let's get on to the subject today. I don't know if any of you have watched the film Get Out, or if you've seen the film Get Out. Do indicate in the comment section. It's a film that I want to revisit and that I want to watch again. But I think there's a lot of parallels in that film with what's going on and the psychosis of what's going on today. Now, I don't know if you're aware of the Aerovax that has now been launched, is actually being tested actively in Canada. It's been 8 million, to test this Aerovax, which is the vaccine which is given to you, because a lot of people are saying, no, I don't want to take injections. So now they're creating an Aerovax. Now, what worries me about this Aerovax is obviously they're going to try and do the experimentation where they're going to want to come and bring it to Africa, just as they did with the new 8-year contraception, which has, been widely rejected, thankfully, because, it doesn't really seem safe, does it? And the Aerovax. Now, the other thing about the Aerovax to me that worries me is that, okay, they're looking at, giving these single doses using this kind of, contraption that you put on your mouth, sort of thing, like almost like an inhaler. But my question is this part of a wider step of distribution of Aerovax and literally putting it airily, and other words, putting it in the air? As you know, we've already had what they call geoengineering and chemtrailing, and I spoke about AS. I think I did discuss this about the importance of melanin and the sun, etc., when we talked about the African conditioning stimulus of what they've been doing to us, conditioning us for many years, and not letting us see how important we are as Black people by writing out our history, within the education system, by using stereotypes in the media to cast hype us into negatively having self-concept, and so on and so forth. And of course, using all of the arbitrarial legal and justice systems against us. And of course, using modern technology, different frequencies to interrupt our DNA, including 5G, etc., these 5G towers, etc. Now, The sun is very important to melanin generation. So when they're doing these things, which they're calling geoengineering, which is where they're putting, sometimes it's sulfur, sometimes it's salt, sometimes it's a mixture of different chemicals which they're spraying into the sky. I'm not sure if you've seen it, I have discussed this before, in order to block out the sun. Now they're talking about putting a huge mirror, can you believe this, into space to deflect some of the sun's rays in order to stop the sun's rays under the guise, of global warming. Global warning. You see, I think that wasn't such a slip. I think maybe that's my spirit saying to you, hello. This is a global warming because we need the sun. The sun's very important to us because we need it for our melanin. But those people that are melanin retentive, of course, they have to use, skin barriers, even use melanin in lotions. Some expensive lotions actually contain melanin that they use to protect their skin from the sun. So we're the opposite. We need the sun. So it's very important to look at what is going on and the legislation that they're trying to pull and the new experiments that they're trying to put out into, through Parliament and these various lobbyist groups in order to push through their legislation. So I'm just warning you that, the sun is not against us, okay? The sun is for us as black melanated people, people of the sun, people of Africa. The sun has always been a benefit to us. In fact, even in South Africa, they use mirrored pots in order to cook using the sun. How amazing is that? Solar powers so many homes, okay? The sun has always been working. Without the sun, we're not going to live. We're not going to be able to grow our crops. So these ideologies that they want to have, and I remember seeing the chemtrails so clearly, especially when I was in England. I actually got really sick. I got like a form of pneumonia that I couldn't shake, and I had it for over 4 months, and it made me become a severe asthmatic. Whatever they were spraying in the air, and there was like a NASA base not far from where I was living. I didn't know what kind of experimentations, because I saw all kinds of things in the sky. It was really crazy at one point. I did actually photograph a couple and put them on social media. But what I'm trying to say to you is that it is a conspiracy against us, whether you like to admit it or not. You have to look at it on a long-term basis and see, is this really beneficial for us? And we have to look at that. That's really important. So I did speak about Dr. Layla Africa. I spoke about economical independence and control over our own monetary policies, etc., etc., etc. And I did speak about the ICC last week, and I also spoke about the changes with regard to the decriminalization of homosexuality, which wasn't accepted across 30 countries in Africa, thankfully. Now, I did discuss it, and I know a lot of people get very afraid of that subject because they've almost criminalized it and made people scared to talk about the topic because they want to desensitize it. But not everybody is for it, and not everybody thinks it's normal, and not everybody thinks it's great. Some people, are dead against same-sex relationships and think that it is a problem in their communities, a problem in their countries, and a problem to their culture, and a problem to the long-term growth of their societies. And they don't think that it's normal, they don't think it's natural, and they certainly do not think that it's something that is moral. And they see it as deviant behavior. And some people are afraid to talk about it, and some people aren't, okay? But where I live, here in Gambia, it is illegal, okay? And in many other African countries, 30 other countries, it is illegal. And in some countries, yes, it carries a death penalty. And like I said, when we were talking about Burkina Faso just launched that it is also criminalizing it, Burkina Faso is criminalizing it with 2 to 5 year sentences plus fines. Okay, so that was just launched in Burkina Faso. And so, it joins the host of other African countries which also against that, because you live in Europe and because you live in America, where it seems to be promoting alternative lifestyles as something that is to embrace. It's not embraced here. And so just to let you understand, one of the reasons why I came here is because I didn't want my son to be confused about his gender. I didn't want him to be confused about his sexuality. I didn't want him to be confused about what is normal for, relations between men and women in order to get married and have children, for example. Okay, so we discussed that last week, and people seem to be afraid to talk about it. So I just want to say, yeah, it is forbidden in Gambia. Sorry, I missed who said that, so I do apologise. And yes, I am in the Gambia. I've been living in the Gambia for 6 years, and I have not returned to the UKKK. Okay, so anyway, I just want to say that this new world reorder, and I'm going to say it again, not the reset, not the world order, but the world reorder, okay, has definitely started. So, and I want someone in the comment section to tell me, what country deactivated 86 million bank accounts, okay? I don't know if you know about it, but at the end of last month, that happened. Okay, it happened in August as well in another country, but it was like 3 million, it was less. But this one was 86 million. Bank accounts were deactivated. Okay, now why am I saying this? Because I want you to repatriate. Part of repatriation has to be financial conciliation and reconciliation of your funds. It has to be, an assessment of your assets and pulling that money in, and also getting that money across to Africa. So why is this so important today? Why am I talking about it? Why am I talking about the digitization of money? Why am I talking about the potential barriers that you could face when you want to repatriate, and why you need to start making plans today? Okay, and why it's so important to invest in land, to invest in water, to invest in food. It's because you need to have a 5-step plan to freedom. You really do need to have that 5-step plan to freedom. And the other thing is about making sure that you can, use your finances well. And if you have to, flip to crypto. Okay, flip to crypto so they don't have that control over your finances and over your funds. Okay, because this is serious. 86 million, bank accounts were frozen. Okay, for 50, that's 86 million bank accounts. Okay, were deactivated. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about it. You read about it somewhere. Okay. So let me go through and see if anyone can tell me where it is. Sorry. Okay, no one's answered correctly yet. I've just quickly scrolled through your comments. So tell me. So 86 million bank accounts, okay, were deactivated. 86 million bank accounts were deactivated. So tell me where. And the reason why this is so important, right, is because we have to start releasing ourselves from this grip. They have us by the small and curlies when you live in their country, okay, especially if your finances are in their accounts. They are, this is just an example of how, your life can get destroyed in one full sweep. Okay. So, and it's also not just about us, it's also about future generations, and that is so important. Okay, now I live in Africa. Okay, I chose to live in Gambia, but no two African countries are the same. Okay, they're all far different from each other, although there are similarities, sometimes in culture and sometimes in language, and sometimes in geographical landscapes there are similarities. But they are different, and some are more advanced than others. Some have like greater transport links and roads and so on, and are more developed with, high-speed trains and all kinds of things, their own airlines and so on and so forth, and have a more developed infrastructure. Ethiopia, for example, okay? Some are less developed, and some have large cities. South Africa, for example, Namibia, for example. So many places have large cities, just like what you would get used to in either England or New York. And some countries are more based on agriculture, and all are different. They all are diverse. They all are lovely. And I chose Gambia because I didn't want to live that city life. I kind of got fed up of it after, you know, being raised in, I was born in London and raised in London. And that was the last thing that I wanted. I wanted a more basic life. I wanted a life like living on a paradise island. And that's exactly which I've got, what that I've got now. So that's so important. But one of the main reasons was because I felt too controlled. You know, one of the questions that I was asked is, what was the impetus behind me leaving? I know I've spoken about it before, but if you didn't, you know, watch any of my other interviews, or if you've not watched BlaXit and so on, and you're not, you know, that clear about it, I'm just going to like lay it down, because I was asked this. And so I did say that I would answer all of your questions when you sent to me. And so I kind of just want to, you know, talk a bit personally. You know, maybe I skated over it and I didn't answer in a way in which, you know, maybe I gave enough depth, but I'm going to answer it is because I felt too controlled. You know, I was just talking about 86 million people were having their bank accounts deactivated. This is governmental control. Okay. And I want you to tell me the country. Okay. I want you to tell me the country that this happened in. So if you want to go and research it, you know, you can. Okay. Hello, Selma. How are you? Hello, Edwin. Yeah. And hello from Colombia. Okay, Lieutenant from Colombia, and African Scent as well. Thank you so much. So yeah, I felt too controlled. I just did. It was just unbelievable, the level of control. And I didn't feel like I was living freely. I didn't feel free in England. I felt like I was being watched. And I mean, I literally was. I mean, towards the end, after I had gone public about racism that had happened to my children, after I'd spoke out publicly, you know, in the media, via social media, and I took action by, you know, having protests and so on, you know, I then became targeted. So, you know, I do know what I'm talking about, and it is a very, you know, challenging situation to be in. But I felt watched. I mean, you know, you can travel through like London and be on like 1,500 cameras, not just the cameras for congestion charge. You know, the cameras on the road, the cameras everywhere. And I just didn't like it. It didn't feel comfortable for me. And I felt strangled. I felt like my oxygen was literally restricted. Like, honestly, like my mind wasn't working properly to its full capacity. I felt like my body was being poisoned by the air that I breathed, and even by the water that I bathed in and I consumed. I had to use reverse osmosis system in order to cleanse the water in my house. I had to use, because of course it's recycled water that's being used from toilet water. They don't tell you this when it, you know, they're telling you about this lovely system of cleansing. They're not telling you that it's recycled toilet water. You know, it goes to reservoirs and so on, and then it goes through chemical cleaning. I used to go sailing and canoeing. I used to love sailing, and one of the areas that we used to sail on was the reservoirs, the Thames reservoirs. You know, they're that big that you could actually go sailing on them. Yeah, and this is water that has been recycled from toilets and chemically treated, that you're drinking, you're washing in, you're using it for, you know, to clean your utensils and your cups and your glasses. But they're not telling you that. So I had to use a reverse osmosis system. And I would advise anybody in the UK and America, especially like Flint, Michigan and so on, use reverse osmosis systems. Okay, don't take chances with your health, because it's not worth it. The amount of people that are now having cancer is got to a ridiculous stage. It used to be like 1 in like 10,000. Then it went down to 1 in 1,000. And now it's like 1 in 10 people. Come on, okay? So there is something obviously going on. So I use the reverse osmosis system. So I would suggest that you go on and research it and find one that suits you. I used to buy my vegetables from an organic farm, which I used to have delivered to my house. Yeah, every time a police car or a police on a horse or a police officer would confront me, or I watched them arresting, my brothers on the street, sometimes, searching, just stopping and searching them on the street. I used to get angry. I'm not going to lie. I used to get vexed. And so, every time they would pass me by, I would have a guilt, because sometimes I used to watch them and I used to want to intervene. And when they used to silence me, I felt silenced, and that didn't feel comfortable for me. Being black was associated with guilt. It was on a natural guilt trip, which, isn't good. It's because you're in a situation where, you're in a white associated country where they have control. They have control of the laws, they have control of everything. But what didn't fit with me, I didn't fit in with the white culture, and the white narrative. No matter how much fish and chips I ate, it just didn't sit in well with me. And so, I could eat fish and chips till the cows came home. It just didn't, fit in well with me. I felt financially constrained. I did not feel financially free there. I felt financially drained. Every day, it was the same cycle. You go to work, you come back home, you make sure your children does the homework. After you pick them up from after school club, make sure they do their homework while you prepare dinner. You've been shopping, you've come back, you're making sure you're taking something out the freezer, you're preparing food, you're cleaning, you're putting washing in, you're taking washing out, you get them prepared for bed, you make sure you change the sheets. You're hoovering and cleaning before you go to bed, only for the cycle. You're making sure that the packed lunch is done for tomorrow, which you've left in the fridge, and then the cycle starts again, and then the cycle starts again. And then, the weekend, the only reprieve you get is to still do the deep cleaning and obviously do the other washing and ironing that you didn't get to do. And you might even have a chance to go and see family. But the cycle begins, and you might even have a little bit of social time on a Saturday. But the cycle was just so repetitive, so draining for me. It was too much. And the banks and the government, they had too much control over my assets as well, which they could control and freeze. And in fact, it happened to me with a bank called NatWest. And I wouldn't advise anyone to go and bank with NatWest. I had a terrible experience with them, terrible experience with them, where they froze my funds, wouldn't let me access even my own money. Even my own money I couldn't access for months. And, let's just say it was a substantial amount. Okay, for no reason, because I got my money out in the end after getting 2 lawyers, because I just got fed up. But, what I'm trying to say is that, that was my own hard-earned money, which was being kept away from me because of, their own regulations and guidelines that were just quicked up, if you ask me, and over applied, when it's something that everybody has got an account, has money coming in and out. That's what you have that's what you have an account for. But now they want to try and say, any movements of money, especially to Africa or to other places, has got something to do with, some kind of fraud, which is absolutely ridiculous, because when they do it, it's not. But when we do it and we want to go back to Africa, we want to go and spend money for our land, they're flagging up, this and that. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But, and they want to ask you a million questions before you even transfer a couple £1,000s. No, I wasn't comfortable with it. And they could also take your money in the blink of an eye, okay? And stop your access to your own money without any real reason why. They don't even have to really give you a reason why. But what hit me hard was the way in which they could destroy your life by pulling your family apart. Okay, that was social services, way too much power. Okay, using social services if you're late to pick up your child from school. I remember a lady that happened to, and I was just like, what? Honestly, at first, I didn't even believe it. Until I had to help. She was late to collect her child from school, and they wanted to put her child into care. Okay, and so anything they don't, they'll do anything, and can use your child as a weapon against you because, they make the rules and you don't, and they control how you parent your own child. They can tell, your children about their gender. They can tell your children in school about using, about sex. They can tell your children about anything, okay? And they can also teach your school about and use and push out their own same-sex agenda. Which they do. And even like my son's school, the head of that school was a homosexual, who flagrantly pushed it. And I was not comfortable with that. So I took my son out of the school and I homeschooled him. Okay. But what I hated the most was about myself, right? I had to, earn money and I had to fit in to earn money. And so I became a pretender. I pretended to like people that I could not stand at work. I could not stand a bone of them. And as much as I'm a heart-filled person, I'm a warm person, there are some people who repel my spirit. They're just not good people. And you have to work with these people that are complaining on you. They're reporting you every minute, reporting you, okay? For nothing. Oh, I think her voice was a bit loud today. Oh, I think it's a black thing. It was just serious. Do you know what I mean? It was serious. I used to wear rose oil. I love oils, okay? I love natural things. As you know, I love my, I always have my crystals and stuff. I love my crystals, love my oils, always have done. I've always been a fragrance person since I was very young. Usually smell me before you see me, okay? Just love them. And then they would open the windows and say, oh, that smell, we can't stand it. I mean, who doesn't like the smell of roses? But, this was what they used to do intentionally. To just, if you, bring some saltfish, you're stinking out the office. No, I love my ackee and saltfish and my bami, and I'm bringing it to work, whether you like it or not. And I'm opening out my lunchbox and I'm eating it, and I don't care. Whether you like it or you don't like it, this is my culture, my food. I'm bringing my jerk chicken. You understand? And when I was a vegan, I still have all my garlic in my food. Oh, that garlic smells so strong. Oh, that garlic. The way they used to carry on was disgusting, honestly. Yeah? But it was all right for them to bring in their 2-day-old food that smelled rank. Yeah? That smelled rank. It was all right for them to come to work and bring fleas to work where they used to sleep with their dogs, though. And they actually used to have to fumigate the whole office. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And then you'd have to leave work and then you bring fleas to your own house. Yeah, listen, don't let me even start. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I had to force a smile when I didn't want to. You want to say, oh, hi, how are you this morning? You're right. Yeah, yes, I'm fine, thank you. And how are you? This is how I actually felt. I didn't want to smile at all. I didn't even want to say hello. How's that? And, I wanted just to be stoic. I wanted to be no nonsense, but I couldn't. I had to come in, to the person that was the director. I worked in HR, I was a director of the HR, and I had to be, hello. And even though I knew that she hated my guts and she was Jewish and she couldn't stand us, but, I still had to put on a friendly face. I still had to work in certain same-sex agendas and areas and transgender areas that I wasn't comfortable with, but I had to deal with because of what I was earning a daily crust in order to make sure that I could keep up with mortgage payments, to keep food, in the house and clothes on my children's back. So I had to do that. I had to force a smile and, and it felt vile. I had to become silent when I should have been wild with anger. When I saw other black people being picked on and made a special case of, and when they were actively trying to push them out of their job, I was wild with anger, but I had to sit, in these meetings, that I knew that they were just being picked on because of the color of their skin and because their culture, or because they came from Ghana or they came from Nigeria, and that was the reason why, And so I allowed them, although I did my best to make sure they kept their jobs, that was part of the reason why I would sit on these panels as sometimes the only black woman in HR, as a HR manager that was there to sit there on these panels, that I allowed them to tame my emotions, even though I used the law to my advantage in order to say, no, this is discriminatory and I don't agree with what you're doing. And in fact, I'm going to advise them to go to, get a lawyer. I'm going to advise them to do this, I'm going to advise them because what you're doing is discriminatory. So I could advise them and then they would say, okay, well, we'll just leave it as a warning on this occasion then because, blah, 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 blah. So I was able to have impact, yes, but not enough. Okay? I allowed them to tame my emotions. I allowed them to anesthetize me. I hope I said that correct. Anesthetize me. Okay? My feelings. I allow them to anesthetize my feelings, to detach, my true spirit, to be dumbed down, a dumbed down version of my true self. Because I burn fire. Yeah, I remember going into the toilets and, excuse my language, cussing out some blower. You understand? I used to go into the toilets, you bomber clock, little effing da, blah, 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 blah. And then I'd have to suck it up, go outside and, sit at my desk and, let it out. One time I got caught and someone said, are you talking to yourself in there? That's the first sign of madness, And I said, shut your, oh no, I'm on the phone. And it makes you into a liar. It makes you deceitful. Okay, because you can't be your true self. I subdued my ability, to create the changes that were so needed because they had control. They had control in some way. They showed you that they always succeeded. That they controlled the system. No matter whether you went to Parliament, I went to Parliament. I got a lawyer. No matter what, you had small wins, but generally, I took them to court. Yes, I won. I got money, but the system didn't change. You understand? The system didn't change. The racism didn't change in the schools. There was still, being racist to the children in the school, even though I took them to court. I ended up even abandoning the case and coming to Africa because I just had enough of the whole system. You understand? I had enough of even my own people turning turncoat like the film Get Out. You understand? Where they go and get white partners and then they side with the white people over their own people. Yes, they do it. Yes, they do it. Because they're living in a false matrix, in a false identity of who they are. Because anyone who thinks that you're going to find someone superior and better than someone who looks like you, you got to be insane in your membrane. Okay? Yeah? They turn you into a liar. And yes, I gave, I lied. I mean, even at school, I'll give you an example. One of the biggest lies I remember telling consecutively, okay, and I admit to it, was that I lied. I told the school that, yes, I gave my child the MMR. I did not give my children the MMR vaccination. I did not, okay? I did not, okay? But I lied and said that I did. In them days, they didn't ask for proof, so I was able to get away with it. But, I did not. I did not. I lied at the school and categorically said, yes, my child has had all of their shots and how important it is, to make sure that they do. When I knew fully well, I did not. They're not having them in vaccinations. I'm not giving them to my children. No. I made the mistake with my first child of just the first shot and she had a terrible reaction to it. So I said after that, no, never again. Never again. They shouldn't even have all 12. I think just the first one, I don't even know what it was. But, I allowed myself to be convinced because I was a young mother, thinking that I was doing the right thing. But I wasn't doing the right thing because my own child got very, very sick. She then got asthma and eczema, which she never had before. So, I refused. So with my other children, not even one. And I lied about it categorically. Yeah? And I'm admitting to it. Because that is what the system does. It forces you. It forces you to deceive it. It forces you to do the right thing by your child. You have to lie, But I felt I had to. I didn't have a choice. Yeah, but now the system is changing, and these changes are echoing everywhere around the world. I'm telling you. Okay, who told me about that? Has anyone answered the question, Mod, about the 86 million people who had their bank accounts deactivated? Has anyone answered yet? Has anyone answered yet? No, it wasn't Dubai. No one's, I haven't seen the right answer yet. I know it's not England. No, certainly wasn't Burkina Faso. It's nowhere near Africa. Okay. Gambia doesn't even have that amount of population. So, okay, so these changes are echoing all around the world. And, you know, autism was never in my family before. You know, unfortunately, one of my nephews is autistic, severely autistic. But, you know, his guardians, his mother and grandparents, you know, insisted, because they worked in the NHS and these systems and they believed in it, that he should be, you know, vaccinated. I was totally against it, but I'm always seen as the oddball one, you know. And he ended up getting severe autism. So I'm not just talking, I'm talking from, you know, experience. I'm talking from my heart. I'm talking from what happened. So, you know, because they felt forced to take this injection, you know, and not to go against the system. And that's one of the things I didn't like about living in England. I felt as though you're forced, you don't have a choice. And so for me, I forced my choice. And if I had to learn to lie to the system to force my choice, then so be it. So be it, because my children's lives come first. Why is it now autism? You saw, what's its name? That president, Trump, right? At least a dump, right? You saw him the other day, you couldn't even pronounce the word, okay, for the medication that he wants them to stop, right? But he was saying that, you know, Robert JFK, what's his name, Kennedy, was there looking awfully weird. But anyway, he said in his public announcement that 1 in 10 children in California are born with autism. So, you know, and how the shots. Now, why aren't they telling us this just now? After so many millions of children have had the shots. Why is he saying this just now? Because they realise the dangers and they realise that autism, how can, you know, 1 in 10 children in California have autism? This is something that didn't exist before. It used to be like, you know, 1 in 10,000. You know, and it's crazy. But anyway, so like it was in my family. So obviously I could see that the fight to go against the system, you know, was different to obviously when I had my children. It was many, many years ago. So I could, you know, we just had a red book. You could just write in it. No one would know. So, you know, it was a different system, right? But one of the reasons that I gave you is in this program is instead of, you know, talking about the Congo and, you know, the president of Congo being, you know, found guilty and the charges of Sarkozy, the last French president, for what he did in Libya against Colonel Gaddafi. Why am I talking about that? The French president is like, you know, probably going to get one of those little bracelets on his ankle, you know, as they said in the news. Now, if you watch the news coverage of both of those events, you will see the way in which they covered the African president and the French president. Yeah, look at the coverage. Just look at the coverage. Okay, and it just disgusts me. That's why I don't like Western media. That's why I do not like them, because, you know, they are responsible for starting wars. Okay, and they are responsible for the propaganda, because people don't like war. People don't like war, but if you're spun a story, if you're spun a lie, you know, that then whips you up into a frenzy, you know, then you think, oh, you're defending someone, or you're defending a system, or there's weapons of mass destruction. And so they can be very dangerous in terms of, you know, your viewpoint, even how they have misrepresented Africa for so many years. So many years, thanks to Odemeyer and others who are out there vlogging, changing the narrative and showing you a different narrative of Africa. That's so, so important, right? But not many people, there's something more sinister that happened, and I want to talk about this because not a lot of people are, okay? And that is, not many people are talking about what happened at the end of last month, yeah? No, it didn't happen in Africa because I noticed no one's come out with where it is yet, because that's how undercovered it was, okay? But the reason why I'm telling you this is to protect yourself and to get ready, because this was the precursor, okay? Now, if you want to come to Africa, you have to protect yourself. You have to prepare, okay? You have to prepare. And like I said, there is a 5-point, plan to freedom, but you need to get your land. And many thousands of people have come and got their land through BlaXit, thankfully. We've tried to make it as affordable and cheap as possible for you to be able to make those plans. And so even if you don't make it, your next generation can make it. You understand? So, and like I said, land can help you and be 7 gens in, 7 gens ahead. It is, you've left the legacy for. When you leave land, it's 7 generations ahead. That is what you're doing. So what happened was very, 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 very sinister. Okay, and I want to talk about it because it could happen to you, whether you're in the UK or the US, okay? And it can happen overnight because they have these plans already in place. But whether it's been implemented is a different thing, okay? So basically, at the end of last month, it didn't happen in Africa, it didn't happen in the UK, it didn't happen in America. But it is a sign of what is to come, okay? So now that everybody didn't get it, I'll just tell you, it happened in Vietnam. It was Vietnam State Bank, okay? SBV. So SBV, it deactivated 80 million bank accounts. Okay, so could you imagine? I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. You're not going to believe this. I'm going to say 86 million. Just think about that. Let that, just let that digest. 86 million bank accounts. Okay, so SBV Vietnam's. I've written some notes, so I might be gazing down just to refresh my mind. Okay, SBV Vietnam's State Bank, yeah, has initiated a significant, what they called data cleaning. Okay, I don't think it's data cleaning. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think it is afterwards. Okay, I'm going to tell you. Oh, sorry, if you wouldn't mind, could you give me some thumbs up, please? Because it helps with the all-important algorithms and attracting, and also people to the channel. And also, if you don't mind inviting people to join as well, I will go through your comments afterwards as well. I know I haven't been too active. Liani Resurrection, welcome and thank you. You was here last week, thank you, and the week before. I'm noting. And thank you, Selma, as well, okay? And Jessica Lynn as well, okay? So I think so. So anyway, SPV's Vietnam State Bank has initiated a significant data cleaning effort, right? And it's deactivating over 86 million bank accounts as part of a national push for biometric verification. Biometric verification. So let me just, if you like, simplify it a bit. So what I'm basically saying is that, look, I've got your money, okay, in a bank. This is basically what they're saying. I've got your money in a bank. Okay, your money, your hard-earned money that you earned, that you put in here for us to take care of for you, and even maybe earn interest from, even used to trade. I have got your money, which I have given you a promise that I would take care of and allow you to have access to. Now, I have now decided that you're not going to get access to it unless you do a biometric verification. So when you put your money in the bank, they didn't need any biometric verification. They just needed your identification, which was fine. And you haven't changed. You're the same person who's going into the bank. You've probably been going into the bank for years, accessing your money for years. But all of a sudden, they now want biometric verification. Now, I think there's a connection to this, to other things, which I will talk about afterwards. But the thing is that if they can do it for that, that means that they can stop your money. They can withhold your money from you for any reason whatsoever. So, okay, all of these Africans that are in America, African Americans, let's say, or, black people, let's just say black people globally, deciding that they want to go to Africa and they want to withdraw their assets. Yeah? So what can we do? We have the power to stop them by taking or seizing their assets or freezing their assets, thereby stopping, the mass exodus to Africa. We're going to make it more difficult for them to take their money out. We're going to make sure that we set all of these new boundaries and parameters that they're going to have to jump over. And also, if they don't come and get their money, then we'll give it to the government. Okay, so this is what advice for a broken heart. I've got good advice for you for a broken heart. I will come back to you, okay, Jessica? I will come back to you, okay? I've had a broken heart before, trust me, okay? So I will give you good advice on that. Just remind me again, okay? Just remind me again, yeah? The mark of the biometric beast. Who said that? Yeah? Gwenda, exactly. I hope I said your name right, yeah? Exactly, okay? Mark of the beast. So I'm talking about it because this is very important for us to understand what is going on and move our money into different systems and remove them from those banks. Okay, so anyway, it's the push for biometric verification. Now, this affected certain people, which is really unfair. I will talk to you about it as well. So Aaron Johnson says, what about I gave owners all of already been foretold in the Bible. Foretold in the Bible. If people had read the Bibles, wow. Okay, so 22:13. I am Alpha and Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. Robert B. Lawrence, I love your accent. Thank you, Robert. Thank you very much for the compliment. Okay, so it was a push, okay, a national push for biometric verification. So can you imagine? I'm sorry, but I just have to lay it down like this, okay? You get up. Actually, it's not a laughing matter. I'm sorry, it's not a laughing matter. Because like I said, I had a similar experience, okay, with NatWestback. And so you get up in the morning, okay, and you've got plans. You have to pay your mortgage, you have to pay your bills, you have to do this. And then they said, no, you can't get access to your money until you do, but I don't agree with biometrics. And I don't want to do biometric verification. I'm sorry, I just don't agree with it. And I believe in my privacy. And I think that this is, my fingerprint, my retina, I think this is very personal. I think it belongs to me. And I think that you have my money. And I don't think that you should be, holding me, holding it against my will, because you want me to fit into your plan that I didn't agree with and that I didn't sign up to. So, can I get my money, please? No, you can't. What do you mean, no, I can't? It's my money. I could have got it, how many weeks ago I could have got it and without biometrics. So what's so different now? Oh, because the government has said it has to be rolled out and finished between a certain time in 2025. Hang on a minute. What are you talking about? I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I gave you, the ID that you needed when I opened my bank account. I gave you my birth certificate when I opened my bank account. I came and I presented it as myself, as in a person. And I just want to get my money. No, you can't. Well, how am I going to pay my bills? Well, you have to do biometrics, but I don't agree with doing biometrics. That is a situation that people were left in. Anyway, so this initiative stems from a project called Project 606, okay? And it was a government project which was actually launched in 2022 to develop a unified digital identity system. Just like the BRIC card, do not go for it. Do not go for it, okay? That is my advice to people in the UK. Do not sign up for this BRIC card. Do not. Okay, your sovereignty is important. Your identity is important. Okay, do not sign up for it. Okay, so it is part of this unified identity system, and they wanted full implementation by 2025, and they had a vision of extending it to 2030. Anyway, the goal is to create a cashless society. Now, one of the reasons for me coming to Africa, I'm going to come full circle here, right? One of the reasons for me coming to Africa is the fact that I like cash, especially in Gambia. I love cash. Yeah, I love it because there's a few reasons why. It's because of the control that you have when you have cash, okay? And it's very important that you have that control, okay? So they said that the goal is to create a cashless society, and the argument for it is to reduce fraud. Now, in my mind, I think banks are a fraud. There you go. Why not just get rid of the banks? Wouldn't that help? Okay, and align with international standards. Okay, so this is their reasoning. I'm just giving you the reasoning. Okay, and these are those that have been established by the OECD and also the BIS. The BIS is the Bank for International Settlement. And anyway, also, with a population of nearly 101 million people, this is Vietnam I'm talking about. So if you're new and you've just joined the subject, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining BlaXit. BlaXit is a channel that is dedicated to your repatriation, relocation back to your nation. And of course, that is Africa. We are repatriation specialists and we help you to make that jump back to Africa. We help you to find your land, to build your house or buy your house if you don't want to build it yourself. We also help you to do your residency, to do your bank account. And also we help you to ensure that you get your children into school. We help you to make sure you get your TIN number. You know, everything that's basically involved in the process of relocating, repatriating, whether it's your shipping, even to your helping you to find those cheap flights. We help. So just to let you know that. And today we are talking about several things, which is looking at our sovereignty, which is very, very important. Sisse, no, leave it, it's okay. Right, which is very, very important, which is looking at our sovereignty and especially our financial sovereignty and our identity sovereignty. Very, very important, and why we now need to make sure if we are planning to leave, planning to come back to Africa, that we, you know, avoid banks and try and use other alternative systems such as crypto, etc., because these banks are carrying on bad, okay, some of them, okay. And so with a population of nearly 1 million, so we were talking about the 86 million accounts which were deactivated in Vietnam recently. 86 million. Yeah, can you imagine? That's just crazy. So imagine I was planning to go to Africa and I want to leave and I don't want to do no biometric thing. How am I going to get my money to go? Okay. Now, what about expatriates, people that aren't actually in the country? That is really, really important, right? To also look at people that aren't even in the country. They're going to have to fly back in order to do that, in order to get access to their funds. Okay. But anyway, 101 million people are in Vietnam, and roughly there's about 200 million bank accounts. And they claim that many of these were duplicate or inactive, apparently, yeah. And they were also saying that some were used for fraud. Now, what's the point of having your money in a bank if they can't detect fraud? And I don't know. But anyway, isn't that what they're there for, your security and safety? That's what I just don't get. They talk about fraud, but isn't that their job? Isn't that their job? But then again, when you look at the way that banks have been used, they have been used, especially when it comes to African resources and the way in which the gold and so on has been used and been sent from various locations and to certain banks in certain locations and certain bank vaults in certain locations. It makes you question the veracity of banking. And if you look at the original concept of banking, it wasn't to enable you, it was for them to make money. It's just to make money, okay? If you look at bonds and stocks and their securities, then you will see exactly what I'm talking about. So anyway, they claim that many of these were duplicate or inactive or use of fraud, resulting in 113 million personal accounts and 71,000 organizational accounts remaining active. So out of all of those 2 million accounts, 113 million, this is according to them, right? Now I'm going to give you my scoop on this, yeah? And, oh, okay, baby's crying. 113 million personal accounts and 71, I think, thousand, yeah, were organizational accounts remaining active. Or that's, no, sorry, that's 711,000, sorry, remaining active. It wasn't million, I thought it was more than that. Sorry, remaining active, yeah, after verification. Now, this is the verification where you're supposed to go in and give your ID and give out your fingerprints, give out your retinas or whatever you have to do. And, and what happens to those that refused? Okay, this is the thing, though. What happened to those that refused? The access is denied. The access is denied to their own money. Owners cannot log in. They cannot, and when I say owner, it's your money. You are the owner of this money, not the bank, but you. Owners cannot log in, they cannot transfer funds, they cannot use digital services. So, phone banking, okay? Now, they can use these phones. If you look at the whole agenda, they're going to use our phones for much more, not just monitoring us, not just surveillance, but also controlling our ability to travel and to move, okay? So, and also for high value transactions, the verification is required even on new devices. So if you change your phone or your screen captures, you have to go and do it all again, okay? And of course, yeah, they have, what's the word? Suspended your fund status, okay? And according to the bank, contrary to viral claims, this is a statement that they said, so I'll just read verbatim, yeah? Contrary to viral claims of seizure, yeah? This is a cleanup and not forfeiture, right? Funds remain in the accounts but are inaccessible. So what's the point? What's the point of having money if you can't access it? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. I swear they play with words, okay? Inaccessible until verification. So that means they're giving you absolutely no choice, okay? But listen up, right? Recovery is still possible by visiting a bank in person for biometric scanning. Okay, challenging, which is challenging for expats or those that are abroad or people that are in sick or hospitalized or the elderly or people with mobility issues. Okay, but crypto advocates and some media outlets highlight the risks of prolonged inactivity, which can lead to potential what they called, let me spell it, okay, and then say it, okay, ESCHEA. Right, TMENT X, right? Yeah, sorry, I'm laughing. I'm so sorry, right? They created this word, I swear. They created this word, right? It's called excusement. Excusement. What does it sound like? Sorry. Every time I hear it, it sounds like going toilet. Sorry. Excusement, yeah, which is funds reverting to the state. What did I say? I teeth them, I teeth it. So, if your bank account remains inactive because you refuse to do it, then the money goes back to what? The state. Now, this is why I am warning you, yeah? I'm calling on you, all black people, Africans globally, I am telling you, watch this. Watch this excusement. Sorry, the word just makes me laugh, right? Excusement, right? Watch this excusement where funds revert back to the state. So that's the big plan. They're going to take your money. They're not going to give you a choice. So it's either you buy into the system or they take your money. So take your money out, okay? And use other financial systems, right, which are outside of their control. Because elderly users face issues due to their limited access to technology and mobility. So can you imagine you have your life savings, but you're in a home, and you don't have other families near you? You know, this is a serious situation, okay? It's serious, and there have been many criticisms of this. Privacy advocates decry that it is a biometric gulag, okay? This is, you know, what do they call it? Bribery in a way, right? It forces data harvesting for surveillance. That's what they're saying. It's data harvesting for surveillance. So they're monitoring, they're watching. Okay, and Bitcoiners on platforms call it a push towards CBDCs, okay, which is central digital currencies, okay, central bank digital currencies, with one expert noting that he had to fly to Vietnam to save his HSBC account, yeah, with no remote options. So can you imagine, the bank don't give you remote options, but they're going to do this. So you have to get on a plane and fly there? No, I don't think so, right? Social media buzz some guy called Kaufman, who's an MD, warns of the parallels to the US Real ID and also to the EU digital IDs, it is a test for global control, okay? That is what he's saying. It is a test for global control. So I am telling you, they're not going to want you to take your money out of their banks and come to Africa. So this is why I am telling you, I am just giving you a warning, okay? They're not going to want you to take your money and go to Africa. Buy your land now. Do not wait. Your land is not going to spoil. Your land is not going to go anywhere. Buy your land now. Do not wait. Okay, make that investment for future generations. Make that investment for yourself. Make sure that you do this, okay? Because on your land, you can have your own water, okay? You can plant, you see me, I showed you my cassavas, and well done for everybody who guessed that it was cassava, yeah? You can plant your own fruits, you can build your own house, have no mortgage, no bank control, okay? Have no bank control. Because this is a test for global control. And I'm telling you, don't remember the pandemic when they stopped you from flying unless you had a certain passport, unless you could do this, unless you could do that. Listen, they are doing it, and they're doing it bit by bit. And who is it for? It's for us. Okay, it's for us. The reaction to it was that there was a huge surge in crypto, yeah? People are using now crypto as an alternative because they don't trust the banks, and I don't blame them. Look who started the banks, the Rockefellers. Look who started the banks. Look at the families that started the banks. Yeah, look at the Federal Reserve. Look at how the Federal Reserve started. This is not a joke business. This is serious, yeah? International commentary has been seeing it. You know, that people are saying that, you know, use it as a cautionary tale for privacy erosion. How dare you take my fingerprints? They're mine. No, I don't want to give them. Okay, but you don't have a choice. It's either you can't have your money then. But how can they do this? Okay, so they're saying that, see it as a cautionary tale. That's why I'm telling you this, because not many channels are talking about it. Not many people are talking about it. You know, people are talking about other things like, you know, presidents again. I don't give a stuff because they've done what they've done, and we know that they've been robbing Africa for years. But now they want to rob you today. And so what I'm talking about is daylight robbery today. Yeah, that could happen to you tomorrow. Okay. So check the policies, check the things that are going on that your government is signing to that you might not even be aware of, that is going to affect your money tomorrow. Because many of these people, they didn't even know. They lost their money. They can't even get hold of their money. Some of them are even abroad. Yeah, it's not that I'm sitting here saying, oh, I care about this or I care about that person. No, I care about us. And it's a future that I'm looking at, okay? It's a future that I'm looking at. I've gone over an hour again. I'm sorry, but this is it. It's very important that I talk about this, okay? So, you know, once they have that, they can track you anywhere in the world. Okay? So you can run, but you can't hide. And it's not, you know, this is, we need to make that change before it's implemented formally all over the globe, because this is just a precursor. Okay, this is just a precursor to what can happen to us and how we can get stuck. and we in the West and not be able to leave and come back to Africa, okay? That's why I love cash. Cash is king, and that is why, and cash is queen. That is why I am in Africa. I don't even use a card. I don't even have a card now. I had a card now, but it was abused, so I stopped using the card. Okay? So, you know, also, they're linking it to a surveillance system, a Palantir surveillance system. Yeah, or the UK's digital ID debate. Don't take it. In England, don't take it. Okay, please listen to me. Yeah. Also, it was also noted that a similar thing happened in August. So this is not something that is isolated. It happened to 3 million people in Thailand in August. Yeah, or this year, 2025. Okay. So you risk exclusion. You risk not being able to use your bank or complementary services, okay, because of the fact that you might not want to give up your identity, okay. Also, right, there is lawsuits also that are going on for potential data breaches, because also you have to look at, you know, how are they going to protect your data? This is your personal information. It can be used. It can be abused. There are people that are, you know, very good hackers. So how do you even feel safe doing this? Okay. And they can use your phones to track your location, your digital ID. Okay. So they can also just restrain your money. You know, this is what they're saying they want to do. So how safe do you feel? That's why I said it's very important that you create your 5-step plan. Okay, to freedom. You create your 5-step plan to freedom. Very, very, very important. Okay, because you need your land. Very, very important. Okay, to get out of their system, you need to have your land. Okay, because this is where they're heading for global digital systems. Okay, this is where they're heading towards. So you need to be able to disconnect. You need to be able to get your land. That's very important. Get your land in Africa. You know, contact BlaXit. If you're not sure about the process, we don't know the process for all of the countries, but we do know, I have learned the processes for quite a few countries, and I have made contact in quite a few countries so that you can, you know, be able to relocate to those countries, made those contacts, okay? So you can buy land in Africa. Come to Gambia. Gambia is absolutely lovely. So I would advise you to come to Gambia, okay? And it gives you that independence. It gives you that independence from the system. You're not going to have a mortgage. You're not going to have, and you can build a house, okay? You can build a decent house for a lot less than you're going to pay for a 25-year mortgage. Like I told everybody, I did my whole house, yeah, including my swimming pool and everything, for less than $50,000, okay? Okay, that's what I did. I mean, okay, so that was back in 2019, but you know, it's still not that expensive, okay? And this is 5-bedroom. You don't have to build a house this big, okay? You really don't. You can build a much smaller house, you know, which is still spacious, with just 2 bedrooms and suffice, and you know, build it on a much smaller budget, you know, between you know, 20 to 30K. Okay, or even go on an eco house and build it for 10 to 15K. Okay, but you have your own water, you have your own borehole. You're not going to be dependent on them. You won't, you know, need to worry about, you know, what's in the water. You know, all of these so-called things that they're putting in the water that is really affecting men. And I'm wondering if this spike in homosexuality is being affected by the hormones that are going into the water from women taking the pill, using hormone replacement treatment, and so on, and that you're drinking it and putting it in your skin, and then, you know, it's changing men's attraction to each other, which is, you know, it could be happening because their hormones, lack of testosterone, etc. Who knows? You know, there are possibilities for all of these things. But I mean, either way, I think it's, you know, same-sex things are nasty, and I'll say it out loud. You know, I don't think that it's natural. And I've said it, and I agree, and I stand forth with Burkina Faso and what Burkina Faso has said. I stand with them, and I stand firmly with the other 30 countries. Yeah, if you want me to remind you about those 30 countries, I can. Okay, those are the 30 countries that do not agree with homosexuality in their countries. And I can tell you those 30 African countries, okay? Just because you live in the West doesn't mean that everybody agrees with it. Because where I live, they don't agree with it, okay? So stop pushing it on the agenda. And that's what they're doing. They're trying to push this homosexuality in Africa, and it's not going to work. It's not going to work, okay? So when you have sun, you have your own solar power. So you're not going to be depending on them. You can get off of the grid, okay? And you can plant your own food. So these are the 5 things. You can buy your own land. You can build your own home. You can build an eco-home, even get a yurt, okay? You can get your own water, okay? Very important. Get your own power from the sun and plant your own plants, get your own food, okay? That's a 5-step plan to freedom. And if you're interested in a 5-step plan to freedom, get in contact with me. I'm going to go through your comments now. I'm really sorry. I have talked for a lot this week, but I wanted to get that out because I want you to know that your money's not safe in the banks, in my opinion, okay? In my humble opinion, your money's not safe in the banks, okay? Staying in the West, they're trying to block out the sun. Also, we need the sun, okay? We need the sun. Very important to us. So don't stay in these countries that are trying to do that. It's not safe. You come and stay in Africa where you've got access to ample sun. Very, very important, okay? King Jamba, hello. Mod, can you put the WhatsApp number for me, please? That's really important. The WhatsApp number, if you could do that for me, that would be great. So people can send me their questions about repatriation. And of course, if you're interested in buying land, that's very important to us also. We do have land which is coming up in Sanyang, and we have land in the Neto Sion, which is close to Bussorah, and also we have some land in Bussorah as well, and Gunjur. Okay, so those are the locations that we have here in the Gambia. We are hoping to expand on the land that we have in Khartoum with Serenity 2 Estate. So these are lands that are in the pipeline, and some are already available. So do get in contact with us. And like I said, a plot of land in one of these locations is only $1,000 a plot, and that is in Bussorah. So do consider that, okay? If you're not having a large budget, and you can even get land for $1,000. So don't think that it's out of reach for you, okay? It's not out of reach for you. So let me quickly go through some of the comments. Hello, Cara. Hello, Papaya. Papaya World. How are you? Hello, Kinjamba. How are you? Nice to see you. Sending truth and love. Thank you all so much. I miss you too, sweetie. Another word for stealing. Liliani, I love your comment. I just love your humor. It's what's the word again? Excuse me. It sounds like excrement. I'm so sorry. Every time I hear the word, and I think that's what it is. It's a pile of yeah, it's a pile of excrement, excrement. Every time I saw it, the word excrement was coming to my mouth. That's why I was laughing. That's why I was laughing so much. But, this is, they want to talk about fraud. Now, wouldn't you call that fraud? You don't touch your account, you forget about your account, you might even heard the news, you might even know that this was going on. Next thing you know, this has happened to you. You might even have been out of the country, didn't even know, you never even heard about it. Yeah. What about all those service people that have accounts? There are a lot of American military, our black, beautiful American, African men who are born in America, who served in Vietnam, who went to Vietnam and opened accounts, and some lived and settled in Vietnam. What's going to happen to their money? This affects us. This affects us. It really does. It really does. But excuse me, sorry. Every time I hear the word, it just does my head in, because, revert back to the funds. So all of these accounts, you think about it, 86 out of 200 million accounts, only 117, I think, was it? Let me have a look back at my notes. I think it was 117. Let me just make sure I get the information right. I don't want to give out misinformation. Yeah, out of the 200, it was 113. So let's see, correction. So out of the 200 million, it was 113 million personal accounts which were recovered. So can you think about all this lovely excrement, right? That has been happening, of funds referring back to the state. Yeah. So How did they upset Leonie? Okay, so King, Fire, how are you? We're taking our kids out of school. Yeah, I did the same. I did the same. Well done to you. Guada, some people are storing assets anonymously in cryptocurrency before relocating abroad. Quite a good idea. Quite a good idea. Ed the Man told me to do that. And he's part of BlaXit group, by the way. It's a nickname that I have for him. He's not my man. Sorry, in case you got the wrong idea. We're friends, but that was my nickname for him. We've been friends for years, and he's part of BlaXit group, and he's very advert and very, very wise in. That's what he's got his masters in, actually, and he knows a lot about these financial things such as crypto and so on. And in fact, he gave me some really wise advice. So yeah, I would agree with him on that, because if I would have invested the money when I wanted to, when I sold my house, I wanted to invest a lot into cryptocurrency, and I was talked out of it. If I had, I would have been a billionaire today. I would have been a billionaire today. But I am a billionaire in love, and I'm a billionaire because I'm living in Africa and I'm still living my lovely life. So, you know, just that my yacht Nyancho 1 is yet to manifest, but it's coming. Okay. No, I do like sailing. I do like sailing, and you know, I'd love to. You know, own one of those islands out in Guinea-Bissau, one of the beautiful islands there. So yeah, you know, for us to go and to vacation to be lovely. So yeah, there's lots of things that I'd like to do. I'd love to put light, you know, I'd use my billions to put light and power in areas that don't have it, water, build, you know, Pan-African schools and stuff like that. But anyway, oops, I nearly hit the mic out. Sorry. Liliani, yeah. Yeah, let's not forget that banks use you to make money. Absolutely. Michael, how are you? Revelations. Oh, I think I said this one. So I don't think I've missed too many of your comments. I don't know what they're talking about. Carp DM. I think Carp DM. What I'm saying to you is that, you know, this is the poison. You know, Carp DM talked about trans. This is the poison that they're putting out into our system, creating confusion. Confusion. A man is a man and a woman is a woman. Let me make it clear to you, yeah? And that's the reason why in England, right, the legislation was upheld, because there's no biological being that is trans. It doesn't exist. It's either you're a woman or you're a man, or you're a man pretending to be a woman, or you're a woman pretending to be a man. It's simple. There's no confusion. There's no confusion. You know, and these men that go and want to, you know, put their things in the wrong, disgusting place, which is used for waste, you know, I'm sorry, but inside themselves, they feel shame, they feel disgrace, they are disgraced. And most of it comes from abuse, you know, and undealt with pain, undealt with abuse. And rather than deal with the abuse and go and heal, they go and continue the abuse, because it's abuse, it's self-abuse. It doesn't matter how you look at it, it's self-abuse. Okay, women to women, it's self-abuse. You know, and it's pain, it's living out pain. And, you know, I personally don't agree with it. I feel that people should be able to get help. In 1977, homosexuality was seen as a mental health disorder. And people were able to get help for it. You know, people being confused about their gender is a situation where you should go and get counselling. You should go and see a psychiatrist, not go and have a bloody operation. That's ridiculous. And then, you know, confuse a poor man who's looking for a woman. And then the woman, I saw that guy Speed. I don't like him, by the way. Sorry. I just don't. My spirit doesn't take to him at all. Do you remember I was saying to you before, like, even in England, people didn't take to my spirit. I would like have to pretend to like them, but no, I just don't like him. I don't know what it is. I didn't even know who he was or what he was. It was brought to my attention by my son. And so when he pressed it, so now sometimes his things pop up. Anyway, it popped up where he was on a beach, okay? And there was like, I don't know if it was Thailand or wherever, but I mean, the person looked like a man, woman, okay? Or shim, whatever they call them, okay? And he had asked the person out for a date. And, you know, this Thai person or whatever, let's just say Asian like person, right, out for a date, and it was heads over heels, yeah. And so he was doing like a live stream while he was taking this person out on a date, went out on the coach with the shim. And while they were on the coach, like, you know, his live stream, someone said, ask, you know, the person their gender. You know, asked the shim their gender. Obviously, he thought it was a woman, yeah? So when he asked the shim, their gender, yeah, the person said transgender. And you should have seen his face. You see, you men, yeah? You see, you men that are so desperate. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is there is no trans. There is only male and female. Okay, that is what there is. You know, other than that, you're pretending. Like I said, revisit the film Get Out. I watched the film Get Out, and I'm going to revisit it because I was having a discussion about it, and I was talking about the fact that many of us, you know, have families which, you know, have lots of different people in it, yeah, that are outside of our race. You know, it's becoming very common now, okay? And what I'm saying is that the more that I watch Get Out, the more it seems commonplace. But the fact of the matter is that there's a huge psychology behind it. And if you're even in a mixed race relationship, there is a psychology behind it, even running in your fabric, and you don't even know it. And watch Get Out. Watch Get Out. If you don't believe me, there's something there that I think we need to go. We're being told to hate our own people. So you might have a bad relationship with someone who's from your own country, from, you know, from your same community, what have you. Because you have one bad relationship doesn't mean that all relationships are going to be bad. Okay? And so we're told then, if we have a bad relationship with a black man, it's because, oh, he mistreated us. That means that all black men are going to be like that. No, that's not the truth. Because if you had a bad relationship with a white man, does that mean that, you see? That's not the answer, is it? The answer is your own discernment. The answer is you knowing, that I need to be more selective. You know, when I'm looking next time, I need to, you know, ask more questions. I need to take time. I need to be more observant. I need to, you know, be more selective. These are even things that I'm even, you know, I have to look to myself to self-reflect. You know, I'm a divorcee, as you know, right? And so I had to even reflect, you know, after being in a relationship for 12 years, even I had to reflect on certain elements because I had to heal myself as well. Okay, so someone asked me about relationship advice about healing a broken heart. Okay, so I'm going to answer that, and I'm going to say I've been brokenhearted, and I think most of us probably here on the chat has been brokenhearted. In fact, some people are so brokenhearted that's the reason why they go on to hurt other people, because they haven't healed their broken heart, and that pain, they haven't dealt with that pain, so they go and they take that pain and they bring it elsewhere. Now, you know, some men are say that they don't want a commitment, they're not into a commitment. Bypass them. If that man is not prepared to commit to you, darling, yeah, he is not worth your time. Okay, if that man cannot see your value, he is not worth your time. If that man cannot appreciate your presence, okay? He is not worth your time. If he cannot respect you, he is not worth your time. If this man is in and out of your life, he is not respecting you. He's probably either married with a wife, or he's got someone else on the side, or he wants to triangulate you, or he wants to keep you as a third party, or he wants to put you on the clearance shelf while he plays around. And he's just keeping you there because he knows you're a keeper, but he wants to go out and play. Okay, so I would say, and this applies to men as well as women, because there are some women, you know, there was a situation I heard of recently of a woman that, you know, a man thought he was in an exclusive relationship with this woman, and this woman had 4 other men. She had 4 other men, and she was boopsing them. When I say boopsing them, she was using them all for money. He thought he was in an exclusive relationship. She was even having an affair with a married man for money, and he thought that he was the one and the only, and he was not. And he left a good relationship. He left a good relationship to go to a Jezebel whore witch, right, who is using love spells and various other things in order to entrap men for money. So it happens. Okay, so men, be careful as well. Do you know what I mean? Be careful as well, because some of those women, they're putting something in your food you don't even know. Okay, so just be careful. Just be wise. Yeah, use discernment. And so, you know, for me, the first thing for a broken heart is to learn to love yourself. Okay, realize your worth, realize your value. You know, when you go into these relationships where you get a broken heart, it's there to teach you a lesson. You know, either you wasn't loving yourself enough. When you you go into a relationship with a man who's just a taker, it teaches you about reciprocation. It teaches you also to value yourself in order not to just give, but also to learn how to reciprocate and to know that there's got to be equal give and take in a relationship. When you go out of a man who always ghosts, or he disappears, or he abandons you, that man teaches you to love yourself and to know that you're good enough and you can be alone and that you can survive on your own. Okay, there's lessons in this. If you go out with a man who is always, abusive with his mouth, it teaches you not to tolerate disrespect. It teaches you to set boundaries. It teaches you, to not accept it and to know when to step away. It teaches you to say, I'm not going to allow this verbal abuse today. If you're, in a relationship with somebody who is a cheater, who is a deceiver, who is a liar, because they lie to cover a lie in order to deceive you, in order to cheat in the first place. If you're in a relationship and that person shows you that they cannot be trusted, it teaches you not to give your trust away. Okay, it teaches you to be more observant. It teaches you to keep to yourself. But most of all, what I would say nowadays, relationships are so tricky that it's best just to wait and be celibate until marriage. Okay, and find that man that wants to make that commitment to you. Don't make a relationship with someone who doesn't want to honor you, with someone who doesn't want to give you that dignity, who doesn't want to give you that respect. It's not worth it. Okay, it's not worth it. Okay, there are men that are married out there that are going to escorts and paying for sex because they say there's no pussy like new pussy. Okay, that is how a lot of men think, and they want to run to the next shiny thing until when they get there and they realize it was never love, it was just lust. And they lost a good woman for lust. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that they're going to learn their lessons as well, because karma does not play. You can't go around hurting, abusing, misusing your counterparts and think that there's going to be no repercussions, that there's not going to be consequences. There are. So let that soothe your broken heart. There are going to be consequences, because when people abuse you and misuse you, there are consequences to pay. You'll see something happen to that person and it'll be a random thing. Okay, it'll come completely out of the blue. And the reason why is because of what they did to you. Especially if you are a good person, especially if you're like an earth angel, a divine feminine. Yeah, our divine parents will not settle for that lightly. Divine masculines also. Okay, so let that soothe your heart. He did not deserve your love. You have to remember that you can only give your love to someone who is deserving of it. Okay, someone who's going to appreciate it. Don't give your time to people who don't value your time, who, ignore your texts and ignore your calls. Okay, do not give them your time. Just don't. Your time is too precious and valuable to waste. Do not waste your time with time wasters. Do not waste your time on men that don't even know themselves, or women that don't know themselves. Don't waste your time with men or women that, are dealing with their own self-hatred. Don't deal with men and women that are still having mummy and daddy issues or child abuse issues, whether it was physical abuse, sexual abuse, or neglect. Let them heal. Let them go to counseling. Advise them to do that even. But you don't have to be their counselor, and you certainly don't have to be the solution. They can find those solutions for themselves. I'm not saying that, you shouldn't be kind. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be loving. I'm saying yes, but with the right person that shows you that they're deserving of it, and you will know it. You will know it. If that man says he's not ready to commit you, let him go. Okay? Let him go. It's no loss to you, darling. Your heart isn't broken. Your heart is healing. Okay? If that man has 2-timed you and gone to another woman, it's not about your worth. It's not about, was you enough? You was always enough. You was too much for him. He's gone to something that was far easier, more simpler, and that will settle for less than. You're not going to settle for less than, because you're more than that. Okay, so just remember that. Some of these men are on the DL, some of these women are on the DL. Okay? And they're hiding secrets. So when they're secretive, it's because they're having a double life, a secret life. Some of them are hiding their children, hiding their husbands, hiding their wives. Okay? So sometimes it really is a blessing for you. It's protection. Okay, sometimes detection is redirection, is protection. So just remember that. And, take time, meditate, and see your worth. Look at yourself. Look at your cellulite. Look at your dimples. Look at your fat rolls. Look at your skin. Look at your, your pout breasts, your saggy breasts, your sagging, your sagging private parts, men, and love them, and love yourself. Love your skin, love your eyes, love your lips, love your body, love your brain, love everything about you. Don't let anyone ever put you in a position to make you feel as though you are not good enough. You are good enough just the way you are. You was born perfect, and you was born with cellulite. So don't let no one tell you that it's unnatural. We were born with it. Okay? We were born nice and chubby, most of us. Okay? It's normal. It's natural. Don't let anyone, tell you anything about your weight. Wherever you are, just feel that you're perfect the way you are, and someone will love and appreciate you and see you and feel your warmth of your embrace. Okay? Feel the, softness of your lips. Okay? So, you can change. If you want to be celibate, you can be. No one stops you. Okay? You can be saying, no, I'm going to remain celibate until I find the right one. When I find the right one, then I will get married. Okay? My mum recently got married. I'm so excited for my mum's 73, and she got married, and my mum, held on to her values. And I agree that you should do the same. Because the right man will find you. The right man will want to keep you. The right woman will find you. The right woman will want to keep you. She won't want to deceive you. He won't want to deceive you. He will want a true, loving, committed relationship with unconditional love. He will give you the utmost respect. He will give you his time. He will be kind. He will be generous. He just won't just be wanting to take from you. He just won't be wanting to abuse you and use you, for sex and then disappear without even saying goodbye. That's not a good man. Yeah, that's not even a good person. You know, that's disgusting, disgraceful, absolutely abhorrent behavior. That's the kind of karmic, you know, demonic behavior of people that have no control. Yeah, and there are people with, you know, sexual demons and attachments. They exist, my darling, okay? They exist. You know, incubus, succubus attachments. And, you know, they're sex demons, they're sex addicts. They're addicted to pornography, they don't see your value. They're addicted to, you know, one night stands. They're addicted to, you know, just having short-lived relationships. They're addicted to sleeping with prostitutes and street whores who are addicted to drugs that have got HIV. So you might have just, you know, saved yourself. They're addicted to, you know, going to parties and having loose sex and having unprotected sex and not, you know, not protecting you. Okay, so, you know, just think about it, because not all men, some men come across as decent because they're love bombing you, okay? They talk about, yeah, they want children, they want marriage, and then they're future fakers. Because later on they'll say, oh, you think I was talking about you? They're future fakers, they're liars, they're deceivers, they're low life, okay? They're time wasters, they're waste man. Okay, so, you know, if your heart is broken, see it as a relief that someone better is on the way. Okay, someone better is on the way, and there's nothing wrong with being on your own, because when you're on your own, you can heal your wounds. You can look at, why did I attract that kind of person in the first place? You know, was I vulnerable? Did I not see the red flags? You know, red flag, red flag, red flag. You know what I mean? Did we not look at the red flags? So what I'm saying to you is that, you know, use your discernment. You know, I wouldn't advise using these dating apps. You know, please avoid them if you can. You know, I think they're highly dangerous, and a lot of the people on there are deceptive. Okay, so please avoid them. And there are some very dangerous people on there as well. Okay, there are. So I would just say stay safe. Okay, you want to meet someone new, then go socialize. You know, go to the library or go to, you know, places where you're going to meet someone that is of the caliber, because not everybody's of your caliber. And do not settle for less. Do not settle. Okay, do not settle. If this man can do this to you, what else can he do to you? Yeah. Okay. Now the fact of the matter is that when you have children, and I know, because like I said, I'm a divorcee, so I understand it. You know, I had a broken heart too. And I was surprised. I went out with my friends one night, and I came home, and, you know, my ex-husband, who's now my ex-husband, said that he had enough, because he liked to control. And I'm a free spirit, and he said he had enough. And and I was always faithful, by the way. I was never unfaithful. So I'm just letting you know. He said that he had enough and that he wanted a divorce or separation. And I had to suck it up. I'm telling you, it was hard. So I know what it feels like. You know, I went to the spa with my friends and I broke down crying. I was broken, trust me. You know, and I was even going out on shoots and I was just crying, sitting in the car crying. I couldn't even get out to film. I was devastated, but it happens, you know. But, you know, don't stop yourself from crying. You got to purge it. Don't stop yourself from thinking about the good moments, because they happen, but just don't hang on to the past and the pain. You have to let it go. You have to release it. You have to purge it. All right. I know I've probably gone on a bit, but I want you to heal. I want you to be happy again, because your happiness doesn't exist in a person. It exists in yourself. Okay. You know, and it's not rejection. Yeah. It's redirection. Okay. That's all it is. Maybe a better person is on their way to you now. Maybe a better person is supposed to be in your life. Maybe that wasn't your, you know, soulmate. Maybe it wasn't your, you know, divine masculine. Maybe he wasn't your twin flame. Maybe he wasn't the person that, you know, some people come into your life for a season, okay? Not for a long-term, you know, relationship. But the thing is that, you know, it's good to date, but not to get too intimate, okay? And so I would say that, you know, one of the lessons that I've learned is definitely to stand on principle with celibacy until marriage. I would definitely say that, because then you can see the man's game. If the man is only into sex and he doesn't want to commit to you, he's just after what he can get. It's just lust, and it's not love, and he's got no respect. He'll disappear. He'll disappear. That's what they do. That's what they all do. Okay, because and those men aren't worth keeping. They're not keepers. They're not keepers, because they're losers. They lose everything in their life, and you'll see them in the same position. You won't see them have anything in their life because they jump from relationship to relationship, and with nothing of substance except for, physical, physical pleasure for a short time. But that is not love. That is not love. Love is far deeper than that. Love is far more sincere. Love is far more lasting. The chemistry of love, the depth of love, the understanding and the trust in love. And when a man breaks your trust, it breaks the love. It does. And if you're going to, I'm not against reconciliation. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I divorced because I wasn't prepared to reconciliate, because I was unhappy. But I'm saying to you, I'm not saying that, because something has happened, that you can't reconciliate. I'm saying that you can, okay? But it has to be on joint terms. It has to be where there is good communication between two people, where they agree and they're going in the same direction, and that, you've learned your lesson, and that certain things aren't going to happen again. Because sometimes relationship ends because of outside interference. That is, no fault of your own. And some people, they don't want to see you happy. There are jealous people out there, envious people out there. Okay? There are people that aren't going to want to see your union. Some people don't even like to see black on black happiness. It's the truth. They'll push you even into a relationship with someone outside of your race rather than your own race. Okay? They'll push you even into a same-sex relationship rather than, because they don't want to see you happy. Okay? So there will be interference sometimes. And those people that interfere never had your best interests at heart. It doesn't matter if they're your family or if they're your friends. They never, ever, ever, ever had your best interests at heart. They just wanted to destroy. You'll see exes coming out of the woodwork, okay, with every kind of sexual trick. Yeah, sending your now partner vulgar pictures of them, sending them pornography, sending them sexual pictures of themselves, arranging to meet with them behind your back, sending them texts. Yeah, so it's about knowing that he also has to block his past before he creates a new future. So and women do it as well, because women are the ones doing it. Okay, to try and entice, because remember that, the enticement, okay, part of, if you like, one of the evil things that is used, of course, is when people is temptation. Don't submit to the temptation. You've got to learn to be strong and to be able to say no. Because some people, they repeat the same cycles over and over and over again. You know that your ex-girlfriend cheated on you. You know this for a fact. You know that she was cheating on you, okay? You knew that she was deceptive. But as soon as she came with a sob story and said, oh, I want you back, you went and you jumped back into bed and went back to her. And then now you're crying because you have HIV. Why are you crying? You understand? She didn't protect, she didn't love you in the first place. She just kept repeating a cycle because you didn't think you were good enough, because you never loved yourself enough, because you never trusted yourself enough, because you never respected yourself enough. I could talk about a million scenarios, but it comes down to one thing: self-respect and self-love. And so my advice to you is to love yourself enough to know that you are good enough to say, I am going to be loving to myself. And when you're loving to yourself, that vibration will expand and you will meet someone, right, who matches your vibration, someone who values you, someone who sees your worth. Don't get me wrong. Yes, there are people that dibble dabble, right, in, magic and stuff like that, and use it in order to, take other people's man. I've heard of that as well. okay? And that happens, and the man goes over there and he's under a spell, doesn't even know why he's doing what he's doing, when he's doing what he's done. He's under domination spell. Woman used, you know, her using blood magic, using her menses, you know, dried up her menses and blood and used it. And I've heard about this, you know, it's on social media. I watch it, I see it, and used it to control and to get the man away from, you know, his woman. I've seen it. Even forced them and used the magic to get them to marry them. But it never lasts, because magic, it doesn't last. Okay, it doesn't last. And soon the man will wake up from the spell. And it doesn't matter how many people cast it, even if it was his own mum working with his ex, or, you know, his brother working with them, and it was a whole cabal of them, like a whole coven of them working. He will wake up, okay? So what I'm saying is that if it's real love, it's true love, it will exist and it will be real, okay? Because real love never fails, and it always comes home, because it's divine, it's divinity. So what I'm saying to you is this, yeah? Regardless of your situation, I want you to treat yourself. I want you to love yourself. Go to the spa, okay? Or go to the beach, you know, or plan a holiday, or just go shopping. But treat yourself, okay? Treat yourself. Don't neglect yourself, okay? If it's men, go for a fresh cut, you know? Go and get your, you know, your beard steamed or what have you, okay? But treat yourself. That's what I did. Okay, that's what I did. I just learned to love myself more. Okay, I learned to love myself more. And, you know, you realize when you're ready, the right man will come. Or if it's the right person for you, it will be the right reconciliation. Okay, so I'm going to sort of end, because I've kind of gone a little bit over, but I really wanted to answer you, to tell you that you are loved. And I want you all on BlaXit to know that I love you, okay? Never lose the capacity to love because you're brokenhearted, okay? Be discerning about who you give your heart to, you know? And don't go giving your cookies out that jar, men and women, okay? Hold it tight until you know that person is worth it. You know, it was a male friend of mine who found out that his girlfriend was, you know, having 4 other men. Okay, it was a male friend of mine. And, you know, on the thing is, yeah, the weird thing is that, you know, this kitchen witch, as I call her, right? She came across as so innocent. And she was cutting off his ex-girlfriend, saying the worst things about his ex-girlfriend, telling lies on his ex-girlfriend, saying and making herself like heightened. And I said to him, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. You shouldn't let her do that. Don't let her cuss off your ex. You know, don't let her do that. Don't let her say nothing about your ex. In fact, you shouldn't even be talking about your ex with her. You understand? Red flag, red flag. And I told him, I said to him, are you sure this woman's straight? Because she seems fake. I said, she seems fake. I just tell you the truth. I'm not telling you to break up, because I think if you found love, I'm happy for you and I support you in that relationship. But I would say to take a step back and just see, because certain times he's calling me, her phone's off again. I goes, and since when? All night. And when it come back on again, the reason why is because she was seeing other men. She wasn't available. And one of the most precious things that you can give, like I said in the community page, is your presence. It's the most sacred thing that you can give, is your presence, okay? But if someone is abusing it, withhold it, okay? If someone is giving you the silent treatment, then don't give them your voice. Do not give them your space, and do not give them your time, because they do not value you. They're being avoidant, okay? They do not value you. So, you know, you be avoidant too. And you value your time, okay? When they're ready to talk and to say, look, this is what is going on in my life, why this is happening, then you can talk. But it doesn't mean that you have to be psychologically abused, okay? Emotionally abused. Yeah? You don't have to be, or physically abused, because some men like to go to lengths of even using their hand, you know, on women. And some women like to go to the lengths of even using their hand or throwing things on men and doing stuff. I don't agree with any of it. Love is supposed to be gentle. Love is supposed to be happy. Love is supposed to be embracing and all enduring. Love is supposed to be being there for each other no matter what. Love is supposed to be happy. Love is supposed to be, you know, about sharing your body, sharing your intimacy, okay? Love is about also sharing with each other, giving to each other, not one way or one-sided relationships. Love is supposed to be about being able to express your emotion freely and being vulnerable with each other freely, saying I love you, and you know, him saying I love you too. Okay, and meaning it and staying there, not allowing anybody to encroach or interfere on your relationship, and standing 10 toes down, defending that person if anyone talks badly about them. Okay, being there for that person regardless. That is so, so, so important. Now, I'm not a relationship expert. I'm a divorcee and I'm a mum and I love my children. Okay, but if you see a man, yeah, and he's not taking care of his children, this is another red flag that I should have seen. Yeah, when I first was in my last relationship, one of the things that I noticed that he wasn't having a relationship with his children, with his son. He wasn't having a relationship with his son, and it should have been a huge red flag. But instead, it was like I listened to the stories about the, you know, it was the baby mum, it was this, it was that, and I listened to it and I believed it. But now I'm living the experience, you know, where, you know, for over 3.5 years, he's only seen my son twice, and he hasn't given me not one red cent, not one butut, nothing, yeah, towards the upkeep of my son, not school fees, not food, nothing. Doesn't even, you know, inquire about him. When I tried to force it, he told me that I had to go through his lawyer. So, you know, I like I said, don't ignore the red flags. That's the main thing. Yeah, and love yourself first, over and above everything else, and put yourself first. Prioritize yourself first over and above everything else. Okay, and protect your heart. Yeah, and just be more discerning next time. But you know, he was a lesson, and that lesson is a blessing. Okay, and it's just a redirection. The next person, you'll be far different. And like I said, keep your cookies in the jar. Okay, so let me just go through some of your comments. I'm sorry that I've missed so many. Oh my goodness. Gone over time, but who cares? Okay, so let's start there. I think Jeffrey, what's this? Okay, what? Hey, had to tell people to mind themselves and look within the last 15 years. Also to take their kind hearts and mind and genitalia off of yet people and go and look within their mind and themselves. Very, very true, Cara. Okay. Wow. Okay, there's a lot of comments and I think I'm running out of time. So, okay, look, and they're reconnecting me. Okay, so I just got disconnected. I'm still here. Elizabeth said, hidden away from society presently while they force their negative deeds on her. Oh, okay. Random babies with strangers, homeless. Thank goodness for good people. Oh, thank you for good people who are helping you. Yeah, Elizabeth said, I'm only, and listen, because you're a single parent doesn't mean that he wasn't married. A lot of people jump to conclusions, you know, about people. They don't know anything about their past, and they go on social media and they talk, and they have got no idea and try and castigate. I never castigate any woman for having children. Children are blessings, and I don't care if you got married or you didn't get married, you had children, well done, and more power to you, okay? What's that? Okay, so listen. My moderator has told me to stop the live, so I have to stop, and love you and take care. Okay, all right. Thank you so much, BlaXit family. I love you. Don't forget, come and repatriate to Africa. Give me a call, +220 240 5273. Give me a text. Sorry, that's the text line, +220 240 5273 via BlaXit, okay? Or email info@blaxithome.com. Email. And remember, we're one Africa, one unity, one people, one love, okay? And I love you, BlaXit family. And like I said, don't have a broken heart, have a healing heart.